Good morning, brothers and sisters. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Good. Thank you, Eves. Yeah. So, good morning, everyone. Today is the 33rd day of our 44th 40-day condition. It is Thursday, the 29th of January, the year 2026, and the 29th of December of the 13th year of Chonil Guk. So let us offer a beginning bow to our heavenly parents and true parents. Chonjiashin Chompomonim Kyombe. Pado. Let us offer our morning pledge.
가전맨세 7. 전일국 주인, 우리 가족은 참 사랑을 중심하고 본연의 활동과 연결된 의하는 생활을 통하여 심존 문화 세계를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다.
Family pledge number 7. Our family, the owner of Chonilguk, pledges through living for the sake of others to perfect the world based on the culture of heart, which is rooted in the original lineage by centering on true love.
So we have a new opening prayer this morning. It is given by our true father in 1967, and it's entitled, Please Allow Our Minds to Long for Our Original Home. Father prayed, we did not know that a historical end was calling us from afar, and we did not know that you had set us up high and were urging us along the path we have to go. Father, each time we went in ignorance onto the side path, you guided us back to the path ahead. We feel once again how very much you have toiled, guiding us until the point at this end of history today. Oh, Father, where do our minds want to dwell? And where do our bodies want to dwell? Since we have come to understand that the place where our minds and bodies should dwell is at the center of your original deep love, Father, please encourage your children who have not been able to arrive at that point. Without your love, Father, we cannot rest, and without your love, we cannot feel your heart. Therefore, please let the waves of your love flow down into our lacking minds and bring about in us the blessing of rebirth. We must long for that position where our eyes grow cold, and we must yearn for that position until our minds ache with the yearning. And furthermore, in order to find that position, we will have to go through miserable struggles. And even if we are destroyed and collapse 1,000 or 10,000 times and experience the anguish of the vanquished, we know that it is our duty that we must rise up again and go forward fighting. Therefore, our Father, please personally direct our minds and bodies, and please do not allow us to become the vanquished in this battle. We have humbly prayed all these things in the name of the two parents. Amen. So I'll just bring up a praise song.
어머님,
True mother,
저희는 절대로 무너지지
we
않겠습니다.
will never fall.
어머님의 꿈을
We
이루어드리는
will
그날까지
bring about a
제왕나비가 되어
realization to true mother's will
가겠습니다.
and become a one-eyed butterfly and fly across the world.
내 곁에 함께하리.
All right, that was another amazing praise song. So this morning we have Reverend Takaki Ito. Is he here? I do not see him here. Okay. So it's defaulting to Reverend Geoffrey Fyers then. All right, then I have something that I have prepared. So I will just bring it up. All right. So can you see that all right?
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right. I chose this speech, Christianity in Crisis. Many of the elder members would have known this speech and this time, 1973. And it was printed in some books with other speeches and reaching out in America to Christian ministers. And tapes, videotapes, all kinds of things were promoted at a time to introduce true parents into America. And so I will read from the speech. True Father, especially now True Mother, is explaining to the Korean people they are the chosen people, and trying to help them understand their identity and responsibility. So at this time, when Father went to America, he wanted to explain to the people of America that they're also chosen to champion this time with their Christian faith. And God called the Pilgrims and Puritans and others to America to be able to prepare America for the Lord's coming in our generation. So he went around giving speeches, and we know that Father had lamented that he was coming to America very late, because already America had began to decline. It's the young people had become what they call wanton. Woodstock was in 1969, and young people were becoming lost. And so Father went there to belatedly to revive America. I think he stood in New York on the street corner and sort of like, what can I say, said, I've come to America as a firefighter to put out the fire, because the fire has already been lit and burning down this beautiful society. So anyway, I want to give this speech this morning, so I will proceed. If it will move forward for me. Yes. So Father said, from Jesus Christ, a new world of salvation could be established. That is the history of Christianity. It went through the same course as Jesus. Whenever Christianity went into a strange country for the first time, the men and women who went with it had to undergo difficulties and shed their blood. Those who died undertook such suffering in order to be separated from the world and from Satan. So we know that the Pilgrims and Puritans went from Europe, that had been Christianity had been taken over by the kings, and said they were God chosen, but they persecuted other faiths or other Christian groups and other people. Anyone that didn't have the theology of the king was persecuted. And, you know, stories of Joan of Arc, all kinds of people were persecuted and killed. And so therefore they went to America. So those who died undertook such suffering in order to be separated, okay, from Satan. They stood in the position where they could receive God's love and make themselves a sacrifice for others. If they had wanted to curse those who killed them, there could have been no providence for restoration. They had to pray for those who killed them. Without that kind of mind, Christianity couldn't proceed in the manner it did. Those things occurred because God had the intention to forgive Adam and Eve after they fell. If only an unfallen brother and sister would have come out to console God's painful mind, think of the pain of their fallen brother and sister and sacrifice themselves for the sake of the other. All through human history, offerings have been sustaining the providence of God. In the Old Testament age, they made the offerings of animals, but in the New Testament age, Jesus Christ himself was in place of the offering. Jesus was a substantial offering who labored hard in utter obedience to God and sacrificed himself. So in that situation, all humankind had to be united into one with Jesus. By placing themselves in the position of Jesus, they had to go through the offering. If in his career in God's if in his career in God's providence, Jesus had succeeded in saving all humankind, both spiritually and physically, then we could have been saved on both levels too. But he left the salvation in the physical realm unaccomplished and accomplished salvation only in the spiritual realm. Since we are with him, it means that we have realized salvation only in the spiritual realm. By the crucifixion, Jesus lost his base in the physical world, his physical body, and his physical body. So the purpose of Christianity is also to restore that lost physical body of Jesus. But Christianity cannot realize this goal without restoring the land, the people, and the sovereignty. Christians have to stand in a position where they can fulfill the providence of sacrifice on the levels of society, nation, and world. In other words, Christians have to resolve to offer themselves as sacrifices. After Jesus' crucifixion and glorious resurrection, the Christian church spread throughout Asia Minor. The principal thrust was towards Rome. Rome was the target because at that time Rome was the world. For the world to be saved, Rome had to be conquered by the army of Jesus Christ. But this was an impossible battle, an inconceivable goal. The Roman Empire appeared as an impregnable fortress, not subject to conquest. Jesus' army was barehanded, and they used no weapons, neither swords nor spears. They were armed only with their love of God and Jesus Christ. They marched fearlessly onward in conviction and strength. They paid the price in blood and sacrifice. There can be no stronger army than one which does not fear death. No enemy is invincible against an army of faith. History is witness to the deeds of that army of Jesus. The Roman Empire fell at last, and Jesus conquered Rome. Roman Catholicism became the center of God's dispensation for the world's salvation. The Pope was in the position to become God's champion. However, in the Middle Ages, corruption appeared in the church, and Christianity declined in spirit. Medieval church officials often were interested in their own power, their own authority, and their own welfare. The church enjoyed formidable power both politically and economically. The hierarchy preserved this power, abused this power, and forgot about God's purpose. Church leaders clung tenaciously to their positions and ruthlessly persecuted their opponents. The hierarchy claimed lineage from Jesus disciples, yet they could not arise above their own sins. The Christian spirit in many of these men was absolutely dead. But God had to continue forward. He is never satisfied with less than a total response. In medieval times, when there was much corruption in society, people like St. Francis denied everything and retreated from the world. Instead of pursuing worldly goals, he was loyal to a vision that he must revitalize the spirit of the church. He started a movement to enable Christians to give up those things which enslaved them and gave everything toward that goal. By overcoming worldly things, he could greatly advance and also lead everyone who understood his goal. However, even the Franciscan order became a dissent-ridden organization. The church needed more profound reform, so religious revolution came. Martin Luther sparked the Protestant Reformation, and significant reformers emerged within the Catholic ranks as well. Throughout Europe, righteous people determined to win liberation from the confinement of outmoded and abusive doctrines and practices. They wanted to worship God and Jesus, not the church as a worldly institution. The priesthood of all believers was the Protestant proclamation. Direct communication with God was their true desire. They helped God bring the world step by step closer to the ultimate goal. Later in England, many people objected to and resisted the autocratic practices of the state church. There was an outcry for extensive reform for the Church of England. The Puritan movement began, and it quickly spread even amid persecution. These new seekers were a threat to the established church. Established church leaders who used almost any means to suppress the new movement. Those who truly wanted freedom of worship soon had either to flee or to be imprisoned. Their spirit was strong, but they did not have enough power to resist the government at the time. They fled to Holland, and still they longed for some new world, some new heaven and new earth where they could find freedom to worship God. America must have seemed attractive to those who were dreaming of a new world. Though America was an unknown territory, it promised them the freedom of worship they craved. The Pilgrims strongly desired to create a community of their own. America seemed an ideal place, so they made the courageous decision to venture there. They committed themselves to the treacherous journey across the Atlantic. They risked their very lives, finding strength in their faith, which was stronger than their desire for life itself. Think of it. They had to give up their families, their relatives, their surroundings, and their country, and head toward an unknown land. Their only hope was in God. Every step they took, they depended upon God. Their journey was long, and there were many storms. They prayed unceasingly to God. They had but one way to turn. They turned to God. When they were sick and dying on the voyage, they had no medicine to take, no doctor to care for them. They turned to God. Those pilgrim men and women were one with God, and that is how they survived. Put yourself in their position in total reliance on God. What a wonderful faith. I am sure that the faith of the pilgrims touched the heart of God. And when God is moved, he offers promises. And when he makes promises, he will fulfill them. God determined to give these faithful people the ultimate thing they wanted, freedom of worship. He then determined to give them even more. I'm sure you know, as I have learned, that the Mayflower arrived at Plymouth Rock in New England, almost in the dead of winter. November in New England is rather cold. The destiny of the newcomers could have been only starvation because there was so little food to eat. Given this fact, it really inspires me to learn about the store of grain in the hold of the Mayflower, which they would not touch. Even though they were starving to death, they preserved this grain for planting in the next spring. This was truly a supreme example of sacrifice. They preferred to die hoping in tomorrow rather than to act in desperation only for a few days of life, a few days more. The pilgrims came to this land full of purpose and hope. They knew that this purpose of theirs was more important than preserving their own lives. Nothing could have given them this courage, this dedication, this sacrificial spirit, except their faith in God. When they arrived at Plymouth Rock, the 41 men who had survived the voyage got together and organized their ideas for government. The resulting Mayflower Compact was signed. In the name of God, amen. This is really a wonderful story. This little group of people left Europe with their hope set in God. They grew sick and died in God. They survived in God. They formed their first government and signed their official papers in the name of God. The story of the Pilgrims is a classic in God's history. It fits into the pattern of the righteous people of history, such as Abraham, Isaac, and Moses. These pilgrims were the Abrahams of modern history. They therefore had to brave many hardships, even after the Mayflower Compact was signed. During the first winter in America, the population of the hardy Mayflower survivors was cut in half. Each day that winter brought a heartbreaking separation from loved ones. One by one, these courageous pioneers died. Yet, their life from morning to night, from dusk to dawn, was centered upon the will of God. God was their only comfort, their only hope, and their only security. God was the principal partner for them. There was an example of such a rare and pure group of God's people. Or here was such an example. They demonstrated untiring faith, and God gave them power and courage. They never lost their trust in God and their vision of the future. Their purpose in coming to America was to build a commonwealth centered on God, to establish the land where God could dwell, where they could really share fellowship with each other and rejoice in fellowship with God. This was all in God's providence, because he needed a Christian nation to serve as his champion for the ultimate and permanent salvation of the world. So another miracle came to the Pilgrims. When they were just barely surviving and their population had been halved, Native Americans could easily have wiped them out with one stroke. But again, God was a shield for them. The first group of Mayflower survivors encountered was not hostile. They, in fact, welcomed the settlers. How are we to interpret this? God intervened to save his people here in America. This is my belief. God wanted them to settle, and he gave the Pilgrims a chance. As the population of the settlement grew, they ultimately pushed native peoples away to enlarge their own colony. Of course, this land did not belong to the new American. Of course, this land did not belong to the new American people originally. The land already possessed inhabitants, and the Pilgrim settlers from that point of view. Why then did God give these settlers their great chance? Here is my interpretation. God sided with the settlers because it was in his plan. In addition, these pilgrims met God's requirements and truly demonstrated an unwavering faith in God. God could not help but give them his promise and fulfill that promise. America's existence was according to God's providence. God needed to build one powerful Christian nation on earth for his future work. After all, America belonged to God first, and only after that to the people who lived there. This is the only interpretation that can justify at all the position of the Pilgrim settlers. And it implies that if the American nation, which came from the Pilgrims, does not fulfill God's hope, great judgment will fall on behalf of the Native Americans. This continent was hidden away and was not discovered till the appropriate hour. God came at the appointed hour. They came to mold the new way. They came to mold the new way of life. Their principal partner was at home in caring or cooking or building. They let God share their work. He was the only security they had. A farmer might dedicate his family and his farm to God, sealed with prayer around the hearth and in the fields. Their everyday life was filled in the name of God. After the first spring visited them, they cleared the fields, planted, cultivated, and harvested the crop. Their harvest to the grace of God. The beautiful tradition of Thanksgiving thus originated. Following the next severe winter, the first thing they built was a church. The first road they built was a road to the church. At night, at dawn, God, I am sure they prayed, God, we want to build a place for you, which must be better than the old world. We want to build a place where you can dwell and be master. Thank you. Okay, so yeah, that speech is longer than that. I think time given, I could have had a few more paragraphs to be able to share. But the point, as I mentioned at the beginning, was to explain the chosen people in a sense of America and why the Pilgrims had authority over America. So today in America, we know there are lots of indigenous rights and so on. And Father said that, of course, if the Christians do not fulfill their responsibility, they'll come under judgment. I think it's saying like from the indigenous people that they took the land from because they didn't fulfill God's providential will. And so we see that a lot in some nations where Christianity didn't fulfill its commission and educate the people about Jesus. This has always been the challenge of Christian missionaries when they go to other nations. As they came to Australia, and anyway, different people came for different reasons to Australia and also New Zealand. Some, they didn't come to New Zealand to bring the gospel. They came to get a better life building farms. Landless people came from England to get farms and to do it in that way. But God, God doesn't just need the Bible to come. It also needs people to develop an external environment as well. Nice homes, all kinds of things need to be developed. So it's always been there's always a bigger picture. But the main point is that those who God sent with faith had to teach the new settlers even to be able to keep their faith. And I know my grandfather came to New Zealand 120 years ago he was sent as a Presbyterian minister to minister to the Scottish people initially. And that was in the South Island. Scottish people came to Dunedin and around there. And so he went to a place called Cromwell. Some Kiwis might know that place. Quite a harsh place in a very mountainous area, very cold, probably not unlike Scotland or even Korea. And he started his ministry there. But he ended up in Auckland. Eventually his parish shifted up to here. And then eventually he went down to witness in Huntly, where I came from, to Maori people, to bring them the gospel. So even myself grew up among Maori people. And even today in my work with the Ratana Church and other people, I have some kind of connection. But I think every one of us has some kind of a journey from our ancestors that we need to carry out. So anyway, yeah, so that was what Father said to the people of America when he came there, to remind them of their responsibility that God gave them. And now True Mother is now focusing on that in Korea, as I mentioned at the beginning, to be able to revive the Korean people, because they're also losing the blessing. They're focusing on the material benefits that God gave them through their ancestors, the Christian ancestors in South Korea, and now it is floundering. So we need to revive Korea, to remind it or teach it about who it really is from God's point of view. All right, I will ask someone else if they would like to make some comments on this morning's presentation. As I read, I really felt strongly this is us in many ways. All right, Bing, yes.
Okay. Good morning. So I can say something if no one else
Yes.
seems to be willing. So I'm thinking about this. What the U.S. Okay, one moment. I have to close the door. I'm thinking about the U.S. situation and how it's they're going on the way to Iran, and yeah, we don't know what will happen there. And anyway, I feel that this pattern around the world, my country first. I just say like this way, my country. I could say like Trump or Putin or whoever. There are many names, but anyway, putting my country first is very wrong, because we are in a providence where the world and the spirit world, God's world, Heavenly Parents' world should be first. I'm sure that True Father would speak about this if he was here now. So we can see some sort of pattern here, because what you're reading drills down to is that there will be punishment, there will be indemnity being paid if they don't fulfill the responsibility. So yeah, that's my sharing here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Bing. That is definitely so. It's just so classic, It's classic chosen people. What happens when you don't do what God has asked you to? God blesses them. And I'm so amazed. I was thinking about Israel, and the people are so organized, so patriotic. And the reason is because they had to, if Jesus was accepted in Israel, they would have had to defend Jesus against all the people around them, Egypt, and Rome, and so on, And so the chosen people are very well trained. That's why today, all those Arab nations around them, they can't defeat them, because God trained them, to be like that. But it's unfortunate that no matter what, they are being pummeled, and around the world is, persecuting them, because they failed, to meet Jesus and to accept Jesus as their chosen Messiah, Anyway, to us, it's all kind of obvious, We're just seeing it play out, And so we have to make sure that we now are the chosen people, you and I, And it's moving on even from Korea to worldwide chosen people now. There are chosen people following true parents all around the world now. So it's up to us. We need to protect the Messiah, our true mother. And what she's going through now is just like, whew, it's unbelievable. And how such a person could be treated. Don't they know what true parents have done throughout the world? And I mean, it's up to us to tell the world about what they have done. We are the John the Baptist, who has to be able to share all the contents, the universities, the Washington Times, the World Cup. I mean, the soccer, all kind of things. We have to tell people about what true parents have been doing. So anyway, that's our mission. That is our mission, really. So we are praying to know what God wants us to do in this sphere, our sphere that God has given us to do. So, yeah, what can I say? Who else would like to say something? The faithful Mr. Rai. My goodness me. Never give up until the end.
Thank you, Minister Rev Geoffrey. And, thank you for your, I think, testimony. And yeah, I think you are the one of the chosen one, and God prepared for this time. I'd like to share one of a story. In Japan, science 26 people. Did you hear? 26 science saint.
Oh, saints. Saints.
Saints.
Okay, I thought it was science. Like, okay, saints. Okay, good. Carry on.
Yeah. So before Pilgrim went to United States, 200 years before Pilgrims went to United States, one of the missionary, Francisco Xavier, went to Japan and successful. But actually he was stayed 1.5 year. He left other small nation. He died with some disease. But within that 70 years, population of Christianity increased nearly 300,000. 300,000. I think almost our movement in Japan after 70 years, like a 3-4 generation, then 300,000 people become Christian. Yeah, then government complete a ban. And if you are Christian, if not change to or abandon the belief, killed. Not a dissolved organization, killed. So they all missionary, I think missionary already, Catholic missionary already 3 generations served, contributed for the Japan. They had to flee, they had to back to Europe. Then that time, government showed some how serious, then called 26 people, then 6 missionary was including, altogether 26 people, including 2 children, men and women. Then they caught, then at first they killed their ear with sword, killed, cut off. Then asked to walk from Kyoto to Nagasaki, 1,000 kilometers. It's a very cold winter, February. February is very cold.
No shoes.
With no shoes. They after arrived, already prepared the killing field, like a Golgotha, 26 cross, wooden cross. Then tied up with rope. Then start the execution. There are nearly 3,000 people watching what happened. Then I think one of the official asked one of the youngest one, says, "Oh, hey, if you changed your face, you are not killed." But that boy looked at his cross. I don't change my faith. I like to go to heaven. Then when execution started, one of the person he called Mr. Mickey, he shouted, he said, "Look at us. Why we are going to be killed? We don't do any wrong things. Just believe in Jesus. But look at us. We are not afraid. Look at us. We're singing." People started singing. And also he said, "We are going to the person killed us. We are going to forgive to the person who killed us. Also, we are going to forgive to involve all of this killing." The singing loudly. People listen. Also, this story, so missionary left there was recorded very detailed. They sent to the Vatican. Then Japan did not recognize long time, but all this story was recorded in Vatican. Then find out later. So the 26 people, like today, reading one of what is the strongest army was does not feel dead. And also they had to pray to people who killed them. That story happened in Japan, I think just before Pilgrim went to the United States 200 years. I think this is one of the sacrifices. It's very famous in Japan in the Catholic history. Just I remember. And okay, thank you.
Yeah, that is extreme. But it goes even more extreme. I watched that movie, Silence something or other, about the Catholics who went to Japan, and they hung them upside down over burning coals, upside down, and the heat went up over them for hours, burning them. And the purpose was not to kill them. It was to make them change their faith and disbelieve. It's one thing just to kill a believer, but to make him change his faith, deny his faith, and say that it's a lie, that was Satan's work. To give up the mission. Yeah. So anyway, the Japan's persecution of Christians is very extreme, and conversely, their faith in two parents can also be very extreme. To trust in two parents and more than opposite. So because of that strong mind, spirit, we have hope for Japan with our young members now that are coming on the street. Now be young members with pure heart. Wow. Once they're really understanding two parents, understanding two mother, and they also have a vision, a solution in our teaching. Anyway, many things we are observing and supporting. Yeah. All right. So who else has some inspiration to share with us this morning? I think I'm not praying enough for everybody.
Okay.
Isla. Good morning, Isla. Nice to see you again. Bright.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Of course, that resonated a lot that you're reading today as I was preparing for the presentation yesterday, and really. So anyway, I mentioned this probably before. A very close friend. She's a Tongan Christian minister. Her husband is also Tongan minister who work here in Australia in Tongan community. And so she's gone to Korea twice and really loves True Mother. And so then I took a long time to tell her what's happening because she's so busy. She's so involved with their church, and also she's full-time working. So we've known each other 25 years. Very beginning, we came to Australia. And so then I said, okay, you sit down and are you not eating your dinner when you come from work or something, 9 o'clock at night? So I explained to her, and she was shocked. And of course, she said, I will tell my husband, my congregation, we have to pray for Mother Moon, and we will fast. So the spirit of hope in true Christianity, of course, I was so touched, and I'll keep constantly telling her what's going on, and we are communicating now very frequently, and soon I'm going to go to Perth. They are right now restoring the Perth Tongan community, and very successfully. They are building a new hall and everything. So very successful couple. And so this is the next step. But we need to speak. But like you, Jeff, on the foundation of deep friendship, you can talk anything you want. So we need to create this kind of relationships with people who trust us, and they know. So another Christian friend, Chester, I prayed for her. I haven't had contact for maybe 5 years. And I've been thinking and praying. All of a sudden, she texts me. And so people really are moved by spirit. And we need to really to revive our faith and stay focused forward, not look sideways or backwards. So that's anyway, so critical time and shocking time, of course, but God is alive, and we need to remember what happens 100 years from now. What did we do when people think about our movement and True Mother, True Parents, 100 years from now? Completely different world, I believe. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Isla. Yeah, regardless of what happens, it'll be very sad. I know I've just read this morning again, Mother's health situation has really declined, crawling on her knees and hands to go to the bathroom, and wow, it's just really. So anyway, regardless, we all feel so sad. I mean, we were supposed to do more. That's the minimum I can say, to be able to testify to two parents during their lives. Mr. Rai.
Yeah. Thank you for Ira for praying for True Mother. Then just I'd like to report just yesterday, Seoul Central District Court imposed a prison sentence to Mr. Yoon and also former president wife yesterday. Then former president wife, before she was expected, required 18 years prison sentence, but yesterday imposed 1 year and 8 months. Then Mr. Yoon was sentenced. He was required 4 years from prosecutor. Then yesterday imprisonment 1 year and 2 months. Yeah, that means like a media really so much talk about it, you know, like how bad former president wife is. That's why request 18 years, but judge checked everything, give her 1 and 8 months. Then Mr. Yoon also required 4 years. Prosecutor said this is so bad, but the judge gave 1 year and 2 months. And I think reality is not like media talk about. I think it's not 4 years, that's 1 and 2 years. And yeah, that's why I think it's, I don't know this affect to mother, but I think this is yesterday. This sentence was reported in newspaper in Korea. Just think about it, pray about. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Rai. That was a bit of a relief in one sense to hear that news. Too bad not acquitted, but anyway, that would not be possible maybe. But anyway, thank you so much for that. All right, then we will conclude this morning's devotion, and I will just go straight to our 7 minutes of prayer. All right. Have a very nice day, everyone. And look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And yeah, God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Recording stopped.